The Life and Times of Juniper Lee is a Cartoon Network gem about a preteen girl with a huge secret. She's the new Te Xuan Ze, protector of the human and magical worlds, fighting monsters nobody else can see with super strength, speed, and a magical dog mentor. But the job comes with a cost. The magical world is hidden behind the veil, so no one can see her battles, and she can never leave the city, trapped until the next Te Xuan Ze is born. Despite the heavy lore, the show is action-packed, fun, and surprisingly deep, a must-watch for anyone who loved 2000s Cartoon Network or just great hero stories. So, without further ado, let's begin.
You can't stop the girl.
Jasmine Lee narrated how the worlds of magic and humanity once lived together in peace, but as hostility grew, balance was needed. One person was given the power to maintain order between the two realms, the Te Xuan Ze, and that role now belonged to her granddaughter, Juniper Lee. June had been handling the job for only a few months. She and Ray headed to her friend Jodie's birthday party, where she enjoyed herself until a leprechaun appeared and warned that a Rakatan had been released by mistake. Hoping to avoid the task, June rushed to her grandmother's house and begged her to handle it, but Jasmine firmly refused and sent her away the moment the creature was mentioned. Forced to face it alone, June struggled at first. Things became worse when she realized her and Ray's knapsacks were swapped, causing Jodie's birthday present to be smashed inside by accident. She managed to fight the Rakatan until Ray and Monroe arrived with her own bag. From it, she released a genie in a jar. The genie sensed the creature's evil and attacked it, overpowering it until both vanished in a flash of light. Later, June apologized to Jodie and gave her the crumpled gift. Jodie loved the snow globe of Orchid Bay City and invited her in for cake. In the credits, the genie was shown forcing the unhappy Rakatan to sing karaoke in the underworld. June and her friends were performing with their school choir at Orchid Bay Nursing Home. Roger discovered a broken talisman and wore it along with his other jewelry to impress everyone. As the performance began with June on piano, something strange happened. One by one, the choir members started singing in deep voices. Viking ghosts had taken over their bodies and marched into town, searching for the other half of the Medallion of Takar. June realized she had to stop them before sundown, or the spirits would stay in the kids' bodies forever. The chase led them to Takar Island, which had recently been turned into a mall. June confronted the Viking leader, fighting to free Jodie's body while also calling out to her friend, convinced that Jodie's spirit was still inside. She managed to seize the medallion from the ghost leader. Ray arrived just as the Viking leader was knocked off the roof. He caught the leader, but both began to fall, so Juniper grabbed Ray. Seeking advice, she asked Monroe how to free the children, and after hearing the quick version, she crushed the medallion. The ghosts escaped, but Jodie slipped from her boot and fell. Determined, June hurled Ray to safety and ran down the building, catching Jodie in her arms. When Jodie woke, confused but unharmed, the other kids soon rejoined her. Later, everyone sailed home together, only to encounter Uncle Cappy's stranded passengers surrounded by sharks. One night, June banished a group of trolls who were hammering at a tomb in the graveyard. The next day, strange things began happening across Orchid Bay, but most people ignored it. Only the local monsters seemed worried, believing it was the work of Terry the Trickster. When June checked on Terry, however, he seemed completely normal. The monsters continued to pester her until she finally invited them into her room. They crowded together, insisting she find the source of the evil energy. When trolls were mentioned, June casually explained she had recently banished a few blue ones. Monroe quickly corrected her, saying those were Trelekians, trolls with the sacred duty of keeping Loki imprisoned. At that very moment, Loki's seal appeared in the sky, twisting Orchid Bay into chaos. June confronted Loki, only to learn that Terry had been possessed by him the entire time. Loki announced his plan to drain Orchid Bay's magical energy to regain his full strength. He trapped June in a series of tricks, including a game show that ended with her fighting a wolf beast. Just as things turned dire, Ray and Monroe arrived carrying a magical staff. While Loki raged at the interruption, June took the staff, revealed she had been stalling, and summoned a lightning storm. Thor appeared, calling new Trelekians who hammered Loki back into banishment once more. Trouble broke out in town, but June discovered it was caused by a Batut. Fixer elves warned her that Batuts were magnets for bad luck, and that upsetting one would make things worse. As Te Xuan Ze, she was told she had to care for it, keeping it calm and happy so that chaos would not spread. Things became harder when a group of Batut poachers heard about the creature being separated from its herd and tried to capture it. June stopped the poachers easily, but the Batut managed to escape their basement and ran wild across the Golden Bridge. June, Ray, and Monroe quickly flew to the bridge on a giant chicken Ray had accidentally released earlier. While chasing the creature, June grew frustrated with her duty as Te Xuan Ze, feeling that it stole her time and left her handling foolish monsters and endless problems. In the end, she realized she had been wrong, and she apologized to the Batut for her anger. When the Batut's herd returned, June asked if it wanted to rejoin them. To her surprise, it answered that it was ready, shocking her with its ability to talk. Ray gave it a tearful goodbye, only for Monroe to complain he never got the same. Their moment ended when the chicken sat on Ray like an egg, trapping Monroe under it as well. Juniper, Dennis, and Ray were practicing in the basement, but June and Dennis argued over how to rehearse and play as a band. Their bickering continued even after they were accepted into a show without having to perform for the judge first. June thought they should have at least tried on stage, while Dennis claimed it was lucky they made it in despite her weak guitar skills. Ray simply said it was thanks to their overall talent. Later, June went to a sleepover with Ophelia and Jody, only to notice they had already fallen asleep. She soon discovered that the entire town was asleep, including her family and even Monroe. Amma explained that she should travel to the Dream Realm, warning that Steven, the one most likely behind this, was a coward and easy to handle. With the help of a pendant charm from her grandmother, June entered the Dream Realm and found Steven planning to cross into the human world. Since she couldn't stay without the pendant, Amma advised her to fall asleep herself. Dressed in sportswear, June entered her own dream ready to fight, but was distracted when Marcus appeared. Just as a wedding almost unfolded, Dream Monroe reminded her it was fake. Breaking free, she faced the Sandman, who dragged her into her worst nightmare, a school play where she forgot her lines. June only smirked, pointing out it was clearly a dream since Ophelia would never play the Tin Man. June chased Steven through many strange dreams, never letting him escape. Along the way, she discovered that the talent show judge happened to be a fan of punk rock, which gave her some comfort about the upcoming performance. Believing he had finally outsmarted her, Steven rushed up a staircase built by the mind-controlled sleepers. The stairs led to a portal that would let him cross from the dream realm into the real world. Just as he was about to step through, June leapt in from another portal and smashed his way out, destroying the gateway and freeing all the sleepers in the process. With his plan ruined, Steven tumbled into the dream of a castaway, stranded on a deserted island, his escape foiled. June, meanwhile, returned to her own world with little time left before the talent show. Backstage, she reminded Dennis that the judge liked punk rock and assured him they had a real chance to succeed. Dennis still doubted her guitar skills, but June told him not to worry, since their band's energy was enough to impress. Even though she had hardly slept after secretly saving the city all night, she walked onto the stage with confidence, ready to perform with her friends. Jasmine told the story of a great battle between a former Te Xuan Ze and Auntie Rune. While looking at the old illustration in the Te Xuan Ze book, June could only comment with surprise that the woman seemed to be riding a guppy. Amma agreed, but quickly assured her granddaughter that there was no need to worry. She explained that Auntie Rune could never return, since it would take 3 very unlikely magical creatures making a deal together, something she insisted would never happen. The scene then shifted to show those exact 3 monsters shaking hands in agreement. Together, they summoned Auntie Rune back from banishment, offering her freedom in exchange for a boon. At first, Auntie was confused about what a boon meant, but the monsters admitted their true plan. They wanted her help in gathering children at the mall so they could eat them. Meanwhile, June, Jody, and Ophelia heard on the radio that their favorite band, Ambiguous Angst, was holding an album release at Orchid Bay Mall. Excited, they decided to go, dragging Roger, Ray, and a reluctant Dennis along. The line at the music shop was so long that hours passed, and it was already time for Amma to pick them up. When June stepped outside to stall, she was surprised to find her grandmother missing. At that moment, Auntie Rune appeared, ready to keep her end of the bargain. As Auntie Rune tore down the veil and filled the mall with chaos, she sensed some good magic nearby. Following the trace, she found Ray and Monroe hiding behind a stall. Their chatter began to irritate her, and she scared Ray enough to make him cry out for June. Hearing his voice, June rushed in and defeated Rune's minions. She smashed through the roof of the mall, making a dramatic entrance and revealing her secret to her friends. A fierce fight followed, mirroring the battle between June's ancestor and Auntie Rune 4 centuries earlier. Rune's lizard creature managed to knock June down, but Monroe bravely stepped in. He banished both the monster and Rune along with her fish, saving the day. June stood up as her friends praised her, but Jasmine appeared at her side with a serious expression. She told June that they needed to undo what had happened. June begged her to let it remain, since it would make life easier and less strange, but Jasmine explained that because Rune had broken the veil, it had to be restored. June agreed reluctantly and asked what to do next. The Elders of Magic were summoned, and time was reversed to just before the band announcement. Only June, Ray, and Monroe remembered. With a smile, June turned off the radio and suggested watching something on pay-per-view instead. June fought a demon that suddenly called forth a half-shark, half-crocodile monster, while her friends only assumed she was running late to the movies as usual. Later, during a test she had not studied for, a so-called helper elf appeared and offered her the answers. June accepted the offer and soon began to rely on the elf more often. For a while, she believed she was finally managing her duties as the Te Xuan Ze. However, Monroe and Jasmine reminded her to stay alert for warning signs. Their words proved true when the elf revealed that it worked for the same demon she had faced earlier. Matters grew worse when the elf copied one of June's reports, leading her teacher to call her parents and accuse her of ignoring schoolwork. June was grounded, feeling more trapped than ever. Meanwhile, the elf reported back to Donnie, who then ordered the summoning of a Kilbana beast to attack Orchid Bay. With June stuck at home, Ray and Monroe tried to help. In the park, they heard speed demons panicking about a Leviathan frog. Monroe shouted that such a creature had not appeared in 600 years, but ran in fear when it showed up. June disobeyed her parents and sneaked out, riding the frog into the sea to fight the Kilbana beast. In the end, Amma comforted June, reminding her it was fine to ask for help, but only in small ways. June stopped a small demon from stealing a goblet in the forest. A group of demons noticed this and secretly planned to take the goblet for themselves. Meanwhile, Dennis was borrowing things from June's room for his LARP campaign, not knowing that the items were actually magical. When June discovered them in the basement, she angrily ordered everyone out for stealing her belongings. Dennis's friends complained that his campaign was boring, so their leader Donnie promised that the next one would be the best yet. Later, Dennis returned to grab more of June's so-called junk and accidentally wore an amulet that let him see 2 Parado's demons. The demons were shocked because they believed one of the brothers could not see them. Even so, they tried to capture Dennis, but he managed to scare them using some of June's magical items. Before leaving, they placed a note for the Te Xuan Ze, but it was destroyed by a jar monster. The demons brought Dennis to their boss Marit, who wanted the Goblet of Nestir. Marit felt disappointed to have the wrong brother, while Dennis enjoyed the realistic game and continued to mislead them. When June learned about the ransacked room and the demons' involvement, she sought the Whammy Elves for help. Eventually, the demons confronted her, warning that they had her brother and demanded the goblet in exchange. Dennis annoyed Maret so much that the demon finally grew tired of searching for the Goblet of Nestir, something he had been after for 3.5 centuries. Just when Maret was ready to give up, Dennis teased him by showing the goblet. Maret immediately grabbed it and swallowed it whole, which made him grow larger and far more frightening. At that moment, a rope appeared to pull Dennis away, but June arrived just in time and challenged Maret, who proudly displayed his new power from the goblet. The fight began, and although Merritt seemed stronger, June managed to land a heavy punch that forced the goblet out of his stomach. She quickly struck him on the head and gave a sharp warning that if he ever dared to come near her family again, he would need a 10th level locator spell just to find what was left of him. Afterwards, June helped convince Dennis that the whole incident had only been an elaborate role-playing campaign, making him promise never to speak of it again. The Parados demons, humiliated by their failure, were given a one-way ticket to Fresno, exactly as they had always feared. Later, June and Ray Ray admitted that Dennis had handled himself surprisingly well for someone with no real knowledge of magic, though they still agreed he remained a complete dork. June and her friends join Edna Rothschild's drama camp, held every summer. Edna has written a musical based on Jack and the Beanstalk and gives Melissa the role of Princess, her friend the role of Jack, and Jody the part of the Golden Goose. When June auditions, Edna injures her leg while showing her how to sing the trolley song, so Ophelia volunteers to direct instead. She scraps the old script and creates Stalk, the Roxicol, acting like a strict director. She casts Jody, June, and Ray Ray in the main roles while leaving Roger as the village idiot, saying she couldn't argue with perfect casting. After rehearsals, Ophelia encourages June to do her best. On opening night, Yetis kidnap June. Since there is no one else for the role, Roger steps in. He has memorized every line and song and even has costumes ready, so the show goes on smoothly. Meanwhile, the Yetis, led by Dimitri the Terrible, hold June captive and demand that she convince the elders to release his cousins. With Monroe's help, June escapes and defeats the Yetis, trapping Dimitri inside the giant prop. Back at the barn, she apologizes to Ophelia, who is actually impressed with Roger's performance. Remembering the village idiot's part, June rushes to the stage and ends the show with Power to the Beans. The musical becomes a huge success. June is signed up to attend the Magical Convergence, the biggest event of the year, but she isn't too excited. She feels like she isn't as good at being the Te Xuan Ze as her grandma Ama. Jasmine reassures her, saying she'll be fine and that she'll learn. At the convention, June struggles to fit in. Ama is much more famous and draws huge crowds of monster fans as soon as she's spotted, while June feels invisible. Things get worse when June has to give a lecture. She fumbles through her speech, and even her acrobatic trick, which she thought would impress everyone, falls flat. Embarrassed, she sneaks away and calls Ama to talk about her awful day. But during an awards show, the anti-magic group Ham makes their move. They storm the hall, trapping monsters in orbs and tying up others, including Ray Ray and Monroe. June sees it all while on the phone with Ama, only for the call to suddenly cut off, leaving her grandma worried. When Ray Ray bravely shouts that his sister will save them, the Ham leader throws June into the pile of captured magical beings, leaving everyone hopeless. Just then, Jasmine bursts in. She unleashes her full power, tearing through Ham's army, freeing the monsters and creating chaos. She releases June, Ray Ray, and Monroe, telling June to join the fight until her scepter is fully charged. June and Jasmine fight the humans together, pushing Ham back and freeing the trapped monsters. The crowd of creatures cheers for June, even joking that she makes Yoda look like Jabba the Hutt. Encouraged, June goes to face the Ham leader himself. He mocks her for protecting monsters and calls it disgusting. June dodges all his punches with ease, grabs his arm mid-swing, and lands a blow that knocks his robot arm clean off. At that moment, Jasmine's scepter unleashes its power, erasing the memories of every Ham member inside the building and shattering the orbs that held monsters captive. When June wonders why they don't use that power all the time, Ama explains that doing so would erase every non-magical human's memory of magic, which cannot happen. As they leave, Jasmine stumbles but assures June she's fine, joking that she's too old for this and will be asleep for a week. June, amazed, asks if she'll ever fight that well. Ama replies that she won't, she'll be better. Ray Ray runs up, thrilled by his grandma's moves, and Jasmine teases him that chores like taking out the trash are only excuses to get him out of the way. On Halloween night, June dresses up as Elvis and waits for her friends to join her for trick-or-treating. Ray Ray is thrilled about going door to door, but he wonders if monsters also dress up and mix in with the crowd. June casually points at some kids without costumes, explaining that some of them are already there. Ray Ray is confused, so June clarifies that every Halloween monster kids use a spell to look like normal human kids for one night just so they can play around and enjoy the holiday. Later that evening, while Ray Ray hides his candy stash from their mom, June is approached by worried monster parents. They insist that something has gone wrong with the yearly spell. At first, June offers to try some quick incantations, but one parent pushes their son forward to explain the truth. The boy, Evan, admits that he made a deal with an agent demon named Vicky Divine, asking her to keep the spell active past midnight so he could stay human forever. Unfortunately, this also trapped every other monster child in human form. June strikes a bargain with Vicky, who demands a special protein shake in return. To get it, June must collect odd items and even wrestle a huge demon called Jordan the Destroyer, managed by a flashy promoter. She has until midnight to finish the task, or the monster kids will stay human permanently. A dwarf giant comes to June for help with land disputes. Because of his short stature, no one in his tribe listens to him or treats him as a real leader. Monroe promises an easy fix, a special growth potion made just for him. They leave it to simmer, but while no one is watching, Ray Ray stumbles upon it. Curious as always, he takes a sip. Since the potion was meant for giants, the first side effect hits his hands. They grow enormous. Panicking, Ray Ray hides them in the sink, but soon his feet stretch out too. At first, he's delighted. He claps loudly, stomps around, jumps on tiptoe, and drags his giant feet with joy. But then, things go wild. A purple tail sprouts out, and before long, Ray Ray mutates into a towering dinosaur-like monster. As he grows bigger and stronger, June and Monroe scramble for a solution. They brew a new body for him, trying different versions until one with a mustache finally works. Using the Orb of Dracaron, June transfers Ray Ray's mind into the copy. The plan succeeds, and the siblings hug in relief, until the old monster body wakes up. It charges at them, forcing June into battle. Just as she stuns it, Ray Ray stops her. He insists they can't destroy it. It's still him. Bravely, he calms the creature down, proving his point. In the end, the dwarf giant returns for his potion and brings Monster Ray Ray along. Together, they break up a giant brawl, finally earning respect for the dwarf giant. It was picture day at school, but things turned strange because an evil demoness sent her helper to replace the photographer. She wanted to make evil photocopy clones of June and her friends, so she could use June's powers to free her father, Kordoth the Conqueror, from banishment. Soon, the evil copies of Jody, Roger, and Ophelia appeared, and they tried to catch the real June. Jody grew impatient, so she blasted June and knocked her out. When June woke up, she was trapped in the demoness's lair, and the villains had already used her photo to make a clone. Back at the Lee house, the clone of June tried to trick Monroe because she wanted to know how to release Kordoth. Monroe explained everything since he was happy to see June take an interest in magical history. Meanwhile, June studied her friends' clones and felt confused because they acted just like the real ones, yet they had no idea what a Te Xuan Ze was. Clone Jody explained that if June never told her friends, then the clones could not know either. Then Clone Roger grew bored, so he played with potions and asked if being a Te Xuan Ze made her a superhero. June replied that she could show him if she was free, so Roger opened the cage and June escaped. Later, Ray Ray noticed June was acting too nice, but then the phone rang and it was the real June. Just as the real Juniper finished warning Ray Ray, the clone tried to leave, and when Ray Ray blocked her, she kicked him away. Monroe thought she was ready for another magic lesson, but the clone replied that she was evil and told him to ask Ray Ray. Meanwhile, the demoness was almost done with the summoning site when June was suddenly discovered. The clone returned, and both Junes began to fight, while the clone kept taunting and trying to upset the real June. Ray Ray and Monroe hurried back to help, but Monroe could not tell the difference because the copy looked the same and even knew everything that June knew. Ray Ray grabbed the banishment stone and aimed, yet he froze since both looked identical. He tried asking questions, but none worked. Then one June scolded him, while the other encouraged him, and he suddenly realized who the real one was. He explained that the real June was never that nice to him, and he also noticed her zit. They rushed back to stop the unbanishment, but a huge explosion erupted and they were too late. Kordoth was freed, yet years of banishment had left him weak and miserable. Later, June hid her zit with a vanishing spell and prepared for picture retake day. Ray Ray showed up well-groomed and stood stiffly for the camera as if posing for a police lineup. June got ready for her turn, but right as the flash went off, Ray Ray jumped in with prank glasses, antlers, and fake teeth. The picture caught June surprised, yet both of them smiling. Juniper and Ophelia stood outside while the bus was close by, when fireworks and music suddenly appeared, announcing an invitation to Jody's older sister's bat mitzvah. Both girls were surprised, and soon Jody tried to convince them to come and perform at the event. However, they refused, since they still remembered the disaster from last year when they had been forced into a Goldilocks performance. Just as Jody was trying harder to persuade them, all of them had to leave for rehearsals of The Wizard of Oz. Meanwhile, a demon named Jean-Claude appeared, boasting to his assistants that he would finally outsmart the Te Xuan Ze with his cunning plan. Without June knowing, he transported the entire community center where the bat mitzvah was being held into a snow globe. June soon realized she had to keep the play going while also finding a way to escape the trap. When she finally tried, Jean-Claude sent a monster after her. She fought bravely, nearly dropping the snow globe in the process, but she defeated the rock beast. Jean-Claude complained about his failure and disappeared in smoke. June almost lost the globe again when a kid picked it up, but she bribed him with $10. She tried to secure it in her bag but missed, causing the community center to return to normal size right in the middle of the park. Because of the success at the bat mitzvah, Monroe ended up singing Greensleeves at a club on two legs, while Ray Ray collected donations in a hat. June was battling a monster at the Orchid Bay Auto Yard, one that could bring inanimate objects to life, when Ray Ray suddenly got hit by its spell. She punched the monster aside and rushed to check on him, worried about his safety. He was unharmed, yet he grew furious because his borrowed comic book had been scorched, and it was not even his own. Suddenly, explosions rocked the junkyard, and they ran back to see that the comic's villain, Wrongness, had come to life and was now causing havoc. June tried her usual method of direct attacks, but none of them landed. She thought they had an advantage if Wrongness stayed unaware of things, but he had already gathered information from comic fans, both human and monster. Back home, they realized the junkyard monster had been throwing around an anthropomorphic spell, meaning Wrongness was not a true magical being, but instead a fictional character brought to life. This made it impossible to banish him. June and Monroe began working on a potion to turn Wrongness into a magical creature, but Monroe explained it would need 12 hours to simmer. In the meantime, Ray Ray went to the luxury motel, found the same monster, and asked for the spell again. Soon, he returned with Boomfist, a gritty superhero who insisted on taking Ray Ray and June as his sidekicks. June refused, but Ray Ray happily stayed with him in the basement, calling it research, while Wrongness secretly worked at a coffee shop to fund his new plan of destroying every Boomfist comic in existence. After earning his first paycheck, Wrongness went to the comic book store, but he could not afford to buy all the Boomfist comics. The clerk jokingly suggested that he might as well rob a bank, and Wrongness decided to do exactly that. Soon, the kids and Boomfist flew over to the scene, determined to keep him distracted until Monroe's potion was ready. The fight took a difficult turn. Boomfist was splashed with milk, his greatest weakness, and collapsed in defeat. At the same time, June and Monroe became trapped in sand, leaving Ray Ray alone to protect the potion and face Wrongness. June managed to break free and drop-kick the villain clean off the tower-shaped body he had built, almost succeeding in banishing him. However, Wrongness regained the upper hand with his powerful laser eye. Ray Ray urged Boomfist to rise again, reminding him that he had overcome Milk in the comics many times. Inspired, Boomfist stood tall and grappled the villain, holding him in place. Seeing no other option, June banished them both together. She later asked Ray Ray if he believed Boomfist was truly gone and tried to comfort him over the loss of his favorite hero. Yet, that night on the news, when June called Ray Ray to watch the broadcast of Boomfist and Wrongness still battling on screen, it became clear that Ray Ray had secretly kept Boomfist's escape to himself. After capturing a large goblin that had caused chaos in Orchid Bay City Park, Ama decided it was time to explain to June and Ray Ray how Juniper became the Te Xuan Ze and why Ray Ray could see magical creatures. Years earlier, when Ama was still the Te Xuan Ze, she had begun to notice her age slowing her down. Her son showed no signs of magical ability, and neither did her grandchildren, which worried her. One day, while babysitting, her bracelet glowed to warn her of a disturbance in the magical world. At that very moment, Juniper felt what seemed like a stomachache. Meanwhile, demon trolls led by Nestor planned to defeat the new Te Xuan Ze before any power could settle. They stormed Ama's house, unintentionally awakening Juniper's powers. A streak of her hair turned white, marking the change. When the trolls chased the children into the attic, they tried to drain Juniper's magic using an amulet. Ray Ray stepped in, and the energy shifted, granting him magical sight. With her power awakened, Juniper managed to fight the trolls until Ama returned and finished the battle with ease. Back in the present, Monroe wondered how Ray Ray could forget such a moment, but Ray Ray felt it was just another strange day. When the goblin questioned why Ray Ray had no powers beyond sight, Ama replied that the real question was why he had not discovered any powers yet. Her words left Ray Ray hopeful that his dream might still come true. On the eve of the 7th annual Orchid Bay Park Easter egg hunt, Ray Ray trains hard to win the grand prize of 20 pounds of candy. Though training really means packing water guns and secretly carrying a ToonRecapz emerald that, unbeknownst to him, only makes barriers. Meanwhile, Juniper casually asks Marcus to come along to the event. She insists it's not a date. When Monroe warns Ray Ray that the Easter Bunny won't leave him any gifts if he cheats, Ray Ray scoffs, until Juniper confirms the Easter Bunny is real. In fact, there are thousands of them. Monroe goes on to tell the story of Sweetland, a magical place where chickens lay the eggs and the Easter bunnies paint and deliver them. Soon, 2 Easter bunnies appear and whisk the trio to Sweetland itself, where they discover a feud brewing between the chickens and the rabbits, led on the chicken side by none other than Monroe's father, William. But the squabble is just a distraction. A blue-skinned enchanted rhinoceros named Mitch is secretly plotting to hijack the holiday, replacing eggs and candy with AA batteries and socks. Mitch unleashes a candy monster, forcing June into a sticky battle she's less than thrilled about. With teamwork, the creature is finally defeated, and Mitch gets his sugary comeuppance. The chickens and bunnies are scolded by their mothers for letting things spiral, peace is restored, and Sweetland is saved. Back home, June finally takes a call from Marcus, only to explode at Monroe and Ray Ray for teasing her again that it's a date. The kids are getting ready for school when June stops Ray Ray from carrying a big monster in his rucksack. Ama then calls to say she is stuck out of town because her dragon flight was canceled after it ate too many quesadillas. She tells June to attend the Goblins and Gnomes Peace Conference in her place. Since June has to be at school, she and Monroe try to make a body double of her. Ray Ray overhears the magic and jumps in at the wrong moment, turning into June's double instead. He enjoys being taller with long hair and thinks he now has powers, but he doesn't. The crystal runs out of power before they can fix it, so they make a Ray Ray double to take his place at school. At school, Ray Ray gets bored and causes trouble, ending up in the principal's office. Monroe, acting as Ray Ray, behaves much better and makes him seem smarter than usual. Meanwhile, June struggles at the conference as the goblins and gnomes fight over silly reasons. She gets frustrated and tells them to settle their issues. During a break, the goblins trick her into visiting their recreational room, which turns out to be a trap originally meant for Jasmine Lee. June is suddenly attacked by a monster. Back at school, Ray Ray spots a monster heading toward the building and runs to warn Monroe, who cannot leave class. Monroe then decides to use Ray Ray's help, so he causes trouble and gets himself sent to the principal's office too. Together they face the monster, but since they have no real plan, they only try to distract it. Meanwhile, at the conference, the goblins wait for their hired monster to finish the job. When the monster suddenly falls through the door, June is standing behind him, ready to fight. The goblins admit they expected her grandmother instead and thought the task would be easier. Realizing what this means, June quickly rushes off. Back at the schoolyard, Ray actually enjoys running from the monster, using June's long legs and height, joking that his sugar-filled diet finally pays off. Monroe struggles to keep up, but they come up with a plan together and trap the gladiator monster in the sandbox. When June arrives, she sees that they already handled the situation, so she quietly watches as the two celebrate and head home. By the end of the day, the crystal has recharged enough to change them back. However, instead of fixing them, it turns both kids into Monroe. June and Ray then argue over the crystal, since Ray wants to stay tall while June just wants things back to normal. June is busy handling a problem in the forest when she hears screams nearby. She rushes over, only to find several monsters crying out for help. They all claim the bat otter is coming. Curious, June starts investigating. She interviews different monster folk, but soon realizes none of them actually know what they are talking about. Meanwhile, Ray buys into the panic. He spends his money on bat otter protection gear and prepares for the worst. At Jasmine's house, they check Monster TV and see Skeeter has returned. This time, he is running a store called Skeeter's Common Get It Bat Otter Defense Depot. June tells him there is no proof of a bat otter. Skeeter argues that she cannot prove it does not exist either. June warns him that if he does anything dishonest, she will shut his operation down. As they leave, they see a rally outside, with hundreds of monsters shouting about the bat otter threat. June tries to calm the crowd, telling them the bat otter is not real, but no one listens. That evening at Ama's house, the kids turn on the TV again. Skeeter is now running a full slander campaign. Jasmine suggests that maybe the whole thing is not so bad, but Ama shakes her head and admits that it actually is very bad. Skeeter even claims to have caught a real bat otter, showing only a blurry photo as proof. The team decides they need to find out the truth. They sneak into the caves under Skeeter's depot, where they spot a dark hole in the wall. June gets ready for a fight. Suddenly, a giant mouth full of teeth appears from the shadows. All three scream, and Ray hurls a boomerang at it. The boomerang bounces back, revealing it was just glass. Behind it, a small and frightened bat otter is hiding. Monroe gently consoles the creature and calls it Monroe Jr. Just then, Skeeter arrives and admits he had not believed it at first either, but after finding the bat otter, he decided to keep it hidden because of its small and unimpressive size. The bat otter gear that Ray brought along helps them realizes that the bat otter they saw earlier was only magnified, but it fails completely when they try to use it to escape the cave. Since Skeeter's gear is mostly built like novelty items, it proves useless. Luckily, Ray's grappling hook actually works, so they manage to escape through the vents with Monroe Jr. in tow. Skeeter refuses to give up and sends a huge Cyclops troll lackey to fight June, while he goes after Monroe and Ray to stop them from showing the bat otter in public. June battles hard against the Cyclops troll, sometimes almost winning and sometimes almost losing. Their fight suddenly halts when a giant sea monster appears, scaring both of them for a moment. Realizing it was only a distraction, they continue fighting until June catches the troll off guard and knocks him straight out of his overalls. Meanwhile, Skeeter tries to stop Ray and Monroe, but he arrives too late. They reveal the tiny bat otter in front of a large crowd of monsters, exposing Skeeter's lie and putting his business to shame. After the crowd leaves, Skeeter angrily mocks the bat otter, but Monroe points out that Monroe Jr. does not have an evil bone in his body. Skeeter is dismayed further, but before he can continue, Monroe Jr. suddenly slurps him up. The gang is stunned, and Monroe jokes that the bat otter may not have a bone to pick with good creatures at least. As Monroe Jr. nuzzles Monroe, he smirks at the camera with a mischievous look, hinting that he might not be so harmless after all. June is all set to take a trip to the California Space Center and claims she has prepared for everything, but Monroe keeps reminding her that she cannot go. Soon after, her grandma calls and urges her to stay in town. Meanwhile, near Skull Lake, two leprechauns, Jeff and his friend, decide to roll away a huge boulder blocking a cave just out of curiosity. By doing so, they unknowingly release the Bombat, a strange creature that will start multiplying itself at midnight and destroy an entire town. When June, Ray and Monroe arrive at the scene, June finds it difficult to catch the Bombat because it keeps changing shape to adapt and escape. Eventually, they chase it all the way to a dog show. Since there are Securitos demons hired by June guarding each entrance, the group decides to enter Monroe into the show as a distraction. The Bombot tries to disguise itself in different forms and manages to slip away into the showroom. The team struggles to tell the real dogs apart from the shapeshifter, but by using a clever trick with dog food, they manage to reveal the imposter. June gives chase once again and follows it all the way to the city border. There, she discovers that she can no longer catch the Bombat and assumes it has created a barrier to protect itself. The Bombat cheekily signals its farewell and prepares to take over the world. But at the last moment, Jasmine appears and scoops it into a potato sack. June is overjoyed at first and asks Amma to take care of the Bombat herself, but Jasmine quickly stops her and pleads with her to listen. She explains that the greatest burden of the Te Xuan Ze is being tied to the magical veil, never able to leave the city while serving. As June listens, it finally sinks in that she really cannot go anywhere as long as she is the active Te Xuan Ze, and she may have to wait until one of her own children takes the role. Overcome with emotion, she begins to cry, and in her frustration, she blurts out that maybe then she could live like her grandmother, traveling and moving freely from place to place. Jasmine is startled by her outburst, but explains gently that her constant traveling is not for leisure, but only to search for a solution that might allow June to leave Orchid Bay earlier. Once she calms down, June wipes her tears and lightens the mood by jokingly striking a deal with her grandmother. She says that if she is going to stay in Orchid Bay for so long, she will at least need a new bike, a guitar, and some new shoes. Jasmine responds that they had better start making a list. June then remembers that they never discovered who released the Bombat in the first place, and Jasmine remarks that she already has a strong hunch. The next morning, they go searching together. Sure enough, when the two leprechauns are about to cause more chaos out of foolish curiosity, June swiftly apprehends them while Jasmine watches with pride. Stephen the Sandman detailed his diabolical return to reclaim his throne to two Parados demons. They asked him why he would want to come back if he had already gotten out in the first place. It was revealed that he had been working in a Waking World fast food restaurant the whole time he was out of the dream realm. Stephen explained that things had not worked out and said that at exactly 5 p.m. Friday evening, he would open a direct portal to the dream realm from under Orchid Bay Middle School. He declared that nothing stood in his way. Just then, the view switched to Ophelia and Roger talking about the middle school dance. Meanwhile, June told Jody that she was worried Marcus would not ask her to the school dance, but Jody assured her that Marcus was really interested in her, saying that she had great traits and was popular. When they met Marcus, both tried to ask him out but stayed awkwardly quiet around each other. Melissa then stepped in and tried to get Marcus to ask her instead. June stopped that, but soon Roger and Ray came along and grossed Marcus out. Later at home, Dennis asked June if she was going to that dumb school dance, but it was clear he was secretly interested in knowing whether Jody would be there. This caused June to tease him. Soon after, Jody appeared with the others to bring news about Marcus. She said that Marcus had not asked Melissa, but also had not picked June. Instead, he had chosen her, explaining that Melissa had been ready to pounce the whole time. June was distraught, but Ophelia calmed her down by saying that Jody had a plan, and a devilish one at that. The kids agreed to prepare for the entire party in advance. When they arrived at the party, they carried out the plan perfectly, but just as it was time for June to step in, her bracelet went off. She made an excuse and ran off to check the problem. Seeing that it was only Stephen, she quickly took care of him by splitting his scepter in half and striking him, which caused fireworks to burst out and sent him to the janitor's office. After that, she returned to the dance. Stephen, however, kept reopening the portal until June defended the Parados demons, split another scepter, and struck him again, causing another explosion of fireworks. When she, Monroe, and Ray learned that Stephen only wanted to return to the dream realm, she finally left Stephen and the Parados demons together. By the time she got back, though, the party was over. She then noticed Marcus waiting on the rafters and went over to talk to him, joking that the party had already ended. Marcus replied that he was just waiting for Jody and was surprised to see June instead. He asked if she disliked him since she had been avoiding him all the time and wondered if she no longer wanted to be friends. June tried to explain, but realized no excuse would be convincing. She finally admitted that she liked him too, and did want to remain friends. With this, they reached a new understanding and went to dance. Jasmine was giving June and Ray Ray a ride home, but instead of her motorcycle, it was a dragon carrying them. Since her bike had been vaporized by a mucus goblin that Ray Ray had annoyed, the dragon mentioned that it was the least he could do for Jasmine's birthday. Hearing this, both June and Ray Ray wondered why she had not told them it was her birthday. Jasmine explained that she simply did not want to make a big deal out of it. When they reached home, the kids hesitated a little at the door, but it was suddenly thrown open to reveal a surprise party they had prepared for Jasmine. While the kids worked on food and the usual family chaos filled the house, Amma slipped into the kitchen to keep herself busy with cooking and to avoid the celebration. June urged her to at least see her sisters Lily and Rose, who were asking about her, but Amma warned that it would only lead to them calling her old and fat. When they finally met, Lily and Rose did exactly that, causing Jasmine to leave quickly for the yard, where a few monsters had prepared birthday gifts for her. Later, when they returned to June's room to stash away the gifts, they discovered that one of them had transformed Uncle Eddie into a green monster. Things became even more complicated when Roger walked in, saw Uncle Eddie, and decided to dress up like a monster himself. Realizing that more and more relatives were turning into different monsters, they began searching for the source of the problem. Eventually, they found a glowing green orb and chased it through the house. At one point, June's young cousin David nearly fell off the second floor while playing, but she managed to catch him in time. Unfortunately, this forced her to abandon the chase, leaving Jasmine to handle it alone. They almost managed to stop the orb, but it caught them by surprise and transformed toddler cousin David into a huge monster. David immediately threw a temper tantrum. June and Amma sent Ray Ray to distract the rest of the family, while both Te Xuan Ze tried to calm David down. However, June accidentally made things worse by taking away the chaise lounge he had been playing with. As David's cries and smashing sounds filled the backyard, the family stayed secluded, trying to watch Amma's vacation photos on the TV. When they finally got the TV to work, Amma happened to pass by and explained that she had already converted the slides to DVD, leaving them back at square one. Losing his chair toy, David started using June like a shaker, which gave Jasmine enough time to rummage through June's spell pouch. David eventually threw June far into the neighbor's yard. Jasmine prepared to use her staff on him, but David tired himself out and fell asleep, so she did not need to do anything. Then the master behind the transformation spell revealed himself from the bushes. He was a monster warlock named Gilron, who admitted that he only did it to make Jasmine happy on her birthday because he had overheard her once saying that she liked monsters more than her family. Jasmine convinced him to change everyone back, explaining that they were her family. When Lily and Rose began misbehaving again, she instructed the warlock to turn them back as well. June thought she was joking, but Amma confirmed she was serious and tried to grab the orb from the warlock, exclaiming that she would handle it. Zaps and shocks could then be heard coming from the house. June went to a carnival with Marcus, and even though she was in the middle of a monster fight, she got off easy when she mentioned that she really wanted to go on the date with him. The next day at school, June and Marcus were getting along especially well, but Jody suddenly appeared with news about a new boy at school who was dreamy cute. The boy's name was Taylor Evermore, and he had just moved in from another city, which caused all the girls in the school to become infatuated with him. During the school triathlon tryouts, Taylor encouraged June to try harder at the events, pointing out that no one should let Melissa and her friends win. June was surprised that someone was actually commending her efforts, but she realized he was right. Ophelia joined her along the way, trying to beat the middle school records out of spite toward Melissa. By the end of the day, the kids enjoyed Taylor's company, and June seemed to get along with him the best. When Taylor left, June noticed that Marcus seemed jealous, though he admitted that part of it was just that something about Taylor himself seemed off. At home, it was revealed that Taylor was only at the school to get closer to June so he could use her as a replacement for his father Loki in order to free Loki from his banishment cage. Loki promised Taylor that they would have plenty of father-son time once the plan succeeded. Taylor casually mentioned that he thought Juniper was pretty cool, which made Loki angry and led him to threaten to banish Taylor. Taylor felt hurt and argued back, pointing out that his father often banished people for almost anything, including his mother. Loki simply told him to focus on completing the plan. The next day, Taylor was ready to execute his plan, but he was unprepared for one setback. June was not winning at all. She was performing well in the events until Monroe pulled her aside and warned her about drawing too much attention with all her record-breaking feats. Loki grew impatient and wanted Taylor to finish the job quickly. Taylor reassured him that once June won, any medal she wore would transport her directly to where Loki was imprisoned. Despite his efforts, Taylor had a hard time getting June to wear any medal because she did everything she could to let someone else win. She even used confetti for Ophelia as she and Marcus won the triathlon in their age group. With all the confetti and cheers from the crowd, Taylor almost gave up and began thinking he might be banished. Then he noticed that Marcus had given his own medal to June out of pity for her effort and still losing. Ecstatic that his plan finally worked, Taylor zapped June and transported them both to Loki's prison. When they arrived, Taylor saw that his father was ready to follow through with the original plan. He pleaded with Loki to spare June, explaining that he really liked her as a friend. Loki refused and scolded his son for having a crush on a prepubescent goody two-shoes, insisting that the Te Xuan Ze be delivered as promised. June woke up and was shocked to see Taylor acting as Loki's accomplice. She lashed out in anger, and Taylor tried to explain that it was not what it seemed. Loki interrupted with an explosion and, using June's Te Xuan Ze bracelet, released himself from the cage. He emerged in full form. June realized she could not stand against Loki alone. Taylor stepped forward and attacked his father, throwing fireballs and engaging in a full battle. Both transformed, and a fierce fight followed, with June watching closely. Just when it seemed Loki might win, Taylor trapped him back in his original cage and banished him. Loki pleaded for actual father-son bonding, but Taylor ignored him and zapped the cage chains, sending both Loki and the cage into an endless pit. Before falling, Loki said goodbye to a stunned Juniper, who was then transported back home by Monroe. The next day, the kids wondered what had happened to Taylor and felt sad that he had to leave so soon. The girls talked about how cute he was, and seeing Marcus sulk at this, June reassured him that Taylor was just as cute as he was. Both blushed and ran off together. Two small monsters were fighting over their water spots, and June stepped in to stop them. She helped one of the monsters find a new water spot, but the monster explained that his spot had really been there. Later, June was at the beach with her family and friends when her bracelet went off, alerting her to an urgent problem. A few humans were draining the Orchid Bay water for their bottled water company. Because the water was magical, June realized the entire city might capsize if they kept taking it. Since the humans had a permit and she could not stop them directly, June decided to go to Aqualandia to ask for help from their king. While June submerged into the magical water to reach Aqualandia, Ray came up with the idea to employ extinct burping snails and asked Ophelia to start an activist campaign. June noticed that the Aqualandians had no idea what was happening, so she explained the threat to King Agatorius. The king, however, stalled, claiming he would rather see Orchid Bay capsize because then Aqualandia could be on top and see daylight. He also complained about how much he disliked life in Aqualandia. The king sent a squid crab monster to distract June while he prepared to reverse the positions of the two lands. Meanwhile, the burping snail campaign was going well, but the humans continued to drain the water too fast and the cities began to rotate. June fought the squid crab monster and its drillhead, managing to escape. She then snatched the king's trident and used it to stop the water from flowing out. She reversed the flow and restored everything back to its proper order. June and Roger's families were camping together for a retreat when a huge Sasquatch suddenly appeared. The kids and Monroe went to investigate and found that their families had been kidnapped. As they searched, they discovered a village of Sasquatches living near an old Boomfist burger joint. None of the Sasquatches knew what was happening, except that one of them, Charlie Paulson, was missing. While they waited for answers, a younger female Sasquatch named Lila appeared. She took care of the other Sasquatches and knew how to find Charlie. June and the others learned that Lila could hear Monroe and see magical things because she was not human. Lila also enjoyed learning about human culture and would sneak out of the Sasquatch village to watch movies. Meanwhile, the kidnapped families had to listen to Charlie Paulson telling boring stories in the woods as he just wanted help to get back home. June, Lila, Ray, and Monroe followed the trail. Suddenly, Lila sensed trouble even faster than June's bracelet. A monster was stealing mountain lion cubs. Before June could act, Lila was already on it. Together, they defeated the monster and found the missing families. At the end of the day, June told Lila that everyone was going home, including her. That evening, they used a charm to disguise Lila as a human so she could live with Jasmine and blend in with kids her age. June, Monroe, and Ray walked her to Ahma's house, and the episode ended with some playful teasing about Ray's crush on her. June introduced Lila to school concepts while Ray encouraged her to try riding a bicycle, which she quickly learned. As they approached the school, June explained that the class president election was coming and that Melissa O'Malley would likely win, since no one dared to run against her. Suddenly, Jody announced she was running, leaving June, Lila, and Ray shocked. Jody was excited, but as the campaign went on, Melissa spread a fake videotape that ruined Jody's reputation and confidence. June went to comfort Jody and noticed a thunderstorm forming. She promised Jody she would run for president instead, trying to reassure her. The storm turned out to be caused by Thor and his Hammerettes, who gave June an ultimatum. She had 1 hour to find the Vindolf Hobgoblin, or the school would be destroyed. June managed the campaign while Lila, Monroe, and Ray searched for the Hobgoblin. Meanwhile, the Hammerettes tried to handle it themselves. The Vindolf escaped and grew multiple heads just as June was about to stop it. Because she was busy, she missed the final speech. Jody and the students were disappointed, so Ophelia gave the speech herself, honestly criticizing Melissa and speaking for the whole school. After June defeated the 9-headed Hobgoblin, the results were announced. Everyone elected Ophelia. She was shocked, but Jody reassured her she would act as a figurehead while Jody led from behind the scenes. Juniper explained to Lila that some of her habits were not normal for an 11-year-old, like burying food in the backyard or carrying all her books to school. They then met up with Jody, Ophelia, and Roger. Jody was excited about a comet shower and invited everyone to her house for a slumber party to watch it through her dad's telescope. During the party, June's bracelet started chiming. When she and Lila went to check it, they found a small creature. June thought it was adorable and helpless, but Lila sensed something foul about it. Back at the party, June called Monroe, who had sneaked in with Ray. The two of them were trying on makeup in the bathroom. Lila had trouble fitting in at first, but when she started doing hair for the others, she quickly became popular. During this, the electricity went out. When June gave Monroe the small monster for inspection, he identified it as an untrustworthy monotook. The creature then spoke in a deep male voice, revealing its plan to free several Banticores from magical imprisonment. It led them outside, explaining it had spread charms around the house and froze Jody and the others, threatening June and Lila. Lila noticed how precariously a bowl of hair dye rested on Jody's arms and slammed her foot, causing it to spill onto the monotook. June and Lila then stalled the Banticores, while Monroe prepared a new ITO, which flew into the air and burst into fireworks. By the end, June's friends asked Lila to finish their hair, and June smiled, noticing how well Lila was fitting in. The most dangerous and greatest Te Xuan Ze who had ever lived, Kai Yi, was released from his stone imprisonment by a monster footwear company that hoped to use him for advertising. Kai Yi escaped, however, and continued his plan to take revenge on the elders and rule all magic. Ahma did not want Juniper anywhere near him, fearing that she might become as corrupt as he was. She decided to obtain the mystical sword of the elders to keep it from Kai Yi, but he stopped her. Juniper arrived just as Ahma was collapsing from her fight with the much younger Kai Yi. She scolded her grandmother for not trusting her with what was now her burden to bear, explaining that it was no longer Jasmine's responsibility. Together, they agreed to face Kai Yi. Juniper and Jasmine put on their armors and prepared to enter the magical realm where the Orb of the Elders was kept. Meanwhile, Kai Yi's statue had been sealed away in another location in the house. Ama sent Mr. Kellington to Defeats with a dragon snot bomb as a precaution. After having a spat with his friends, Dennis went into June's room and started meddling around. He found Juniper's book on bringing the inanimate to life and accidentally brought wrongness back into the real world. Along with him came Love, a legion of villainous evildoers. Ray brought back Boomfist to help, but even together, he and June could not match the villains with speed or strength. Dennis then came up with a new plan. He animated HATE, Heroes Against Terrible Evildoers, Boomfist's team of heroes. They gained a brief upper hand, but still got beaten. To complete their plan, they decided to make a tactical retreat, running to the forest where they created a large banishing sinkhole. They tricked the Legion into following them and then called on a team member who created a whirlpool, allowing them to capture the villains. The episode ended with the team cheating to banish Love. Juniper let Dennis keep the pendant that let him see magic. Dennis then announced he was leaving his friends behind because they had been jerks to him. When they laughed and asked what he would do instead, he said he would spend his time with his younger sister. Dennis then got on a dragon piloted by June and took off, happy to explore a magical world he had always been curious about, while his old friends laughed in disbelief. Jasmine was taking Juniper to the Orchid Bay Ravines for her first ascension ceremony, each carrying Ray and Monroe in their backpacks. As they swung from cliff to cliff using mountain climbing ropes, June and Ray wondered what the ceremony would be like. Jasmine explained that the rank of kanji meant honored one. Ray then asked if there might be compensation for being June's sidekick, but both Monroe and Ama reassured him that the promotion was about honor, not perks. Jasmine also told June not to worry, saying it was not a big deal. As they neared the sacred grounds, June's bracelet went off, alerting them to a more urgent problem. A flock of young creatures was about to be attacked by a Darnic demon. June and Jasmine quickly saved the creatures, which angered the demon. It began absorbing energy from nearby objects, making it hard for Monroe to hit. Ama jumped on the demon's head and pressed a gem, expelling all the absorbed energy. When the demon overpowered Ama, it left her behind a crater. At that moment, they noticed that Jasmine appeared much younger than usual. Suspecting a reduction spell, they returned to the ceremony, only to find Jasmine's magical aura weakened. Forgetting about the demon, they hurried back to Jasmine's house to fix the problem. In Jasmine's backyard, after confirming it wasn't a reduction spell, the demon attacked again, gaining the upper hand over Juniper and absorbing more of Jasmine's energy, leaving her at the age of 11. Trying to hide from Michael, Jasmine accidentally got enrolled in Juniper's school after Ray introduced Ama as Roxanne, their cousin from China. Michael asked who she was related to, and Jasmine nervously said she was a Duan, Ming Mei, and Jin's daughter. Michael mumbled that he didn't know that part of the family, and Jasmine commented that it was understandable. That night, as they were about to fall asleep, June got excited about the space program again and wondered if, with Ama like this, she could leave Orchid Bay for a while. Jasmine felt saddened by the thought. June and Ama had fun skateboarding through the park, and Ama enjoyed being a kid again, even though she was back at school. Roger developed a crush on Roxanne, while Jody treated her as if she didn't speak English well, which upset Jasmine. When asked in class what she wanted to be, Jasmine said she would have liked to become an archaeologist. The teacher told her she still could since she was young, and Jasmine quietly remarked that it seemed possible, which June noticed. Later, Monroe called and explained that the demon hadn't just drained Jasmine's youth and strength, but also all of her Te Xuan Ze abilities, experience, and knowledge, asking Jasmine to imagine the danger of someone with the skill of a seasoned Te Xuan Ze. Jasmine and June hurried back to the sacred grounds to stop the Darnic demon. June asked what the demon planned to do, and Jasmine explained that he was heading to the Temple of Elders to steal all of the Elders' powers and take over the magical world. June suddenly realized that this was the same place they had visited the previous day for the Ascension ceremony. Jasmine admitted that she had lied about the danger to avoid scaring Juniper, but that it was actually a very serious matter. They realized they couldn't defeat the demon with brute force alone, so they used stones to block and fight him. June was about to permanently banish the demon when Ama stopped her, producing a force field around them with a stone. She asked why June would do that, and June explained that it was so Ama could finally leave Orchid Bay and have the life she had always wanted, a clean slate without the responsibilities of being Te Xuan Ze. Jasmine told her granddaughter that she had already lived the life she wanted, full of adventure. Becoming Te Xuan Ze was her fate and her honor. She was happy with the path she had taken and wanted to embrace that person again. They smiled and reconciled. Ray Ray and Monroe ran to the grounds, and Jasmine removed the force field. She asked Ray Ray to throw the turtle he had been pet-sitting to her, and just as the demon started absorbing energy again, Ama slammed the turtle on its head, reversing the process and restoring her years while the demon absorbed the turtle's years instead. After a change of clothes for Jasmine, the ascension ceremony proceeded as planned. Juniper twirled her hair, worried about making a good impression, but Jasmine reassured her, saying she looked fine. Juniper then met and spoke to a magical elder for the first time. While retrieving some stolen dragon eggs, June was interrupted by the thief. Ray Ray tried to help but nearly made things worse, earning a scolding from Monroe. The next day, during a field trip to the clock tower, June reminded Ray Ray that he needed to finish his homework and get a permission slip for the bus. Because he hadn't, he was left behind at school. When he woke up, he found himself in his room, with Monroe trying to get him ready to work as Te Xuan Ze. At first, Ray Ray couldn't believe it, but he quickly embraced the role and adapted, and Monroe praised him as being better than any Te Xuan Ze before. Ray Ray missed June and even mistook random passersby for his sister. Monroe and Dennis didn't believe him at first, but when they found the dragon egg poacher again, they discovered he had hidden the knapsacks of all the missing kids Ray Ray knew. The poacher revealed he planned to use the clock tower's time vortex to go back to before June stopped him, but was surprised when things appeared out of the vortex. Monroe explained these were time wraiths, creatures tasked with guarding the timeline. June tried to stop them, but it was too late. The time wraiths captured the kids, and the poacher escaped just in time. The children were encased in a dimensional crystal and trapped in the vortex, removed from time and space as history was rewritten without them. Ray Ray immediately decided to save the missing kids, but Monroe and Dennis stopped him, warning that he could cause a time rift, disrupt reality, or even lose his role as Te Xuan Ze. Determined, Ray Ray tricked them into leaving and jumped down the vortex himself. He managed to break June out, who was surprised to see him as Te Xuan Ze but quickly accepted it after watching him in action. Together, they freed the other kids and fought the time wraiths, with June commenting that she had always somehow known he would be good at the job. They escaped the time vortex by riding on the backs of the time wraiths. Ray Ray later woke up to June calling his name and was immediately relieved to see her safe. June didn't seem to remember any of the events, leaving Ray Ray to wonder if it had all been a dream, until he found a photo Dennis had taken of him stopping a raging dragon. When Monroe found him in the basement, he scolded Ray Ray at first, thinking he was just playing around again. Ray Ray explained that he wanted to learn magic properly so he could help June more. Monroe smiled in surprise and agreed to teach him. June was enjoying a quiet day and told Monroe so, prompting him to ask her not to jinx it. Suddenly, a giant monster appeared, causing chaos in the city park. June rushed to the scene but was stopped by Gus, who told her not to banish the monster and to use a reduction wand instead. The monster nearly crushed her, and she had to push back a row of trees to escape before grabbing the wand and using it. The giant, agitated monster turned out to be Cletus, a neighborhood monster. Gus explained that Cletus had gotten that way for some reason while they were watching TV, and Monroe suggested they do some tests. When Cletus later fell behind to buy Rooney sticks and turned into a rampaging monster again, the team realized the snacks were the cause. They discovered the Rooney sticks contained tarabak weed, a rare herb known to make 1 in 4 monsters grow giant. The herb smelled terrible, but once eaten, monsters craved it constantly. As more monsters began to grow and rampage, it became harder for the team to keep up, so they decided to go straight to the source. They found the authors of the snacks were two elderly monsters, Margie and Eloise. The two acted surprised to learn that the snacks caused monsterism and promised to put warning signs on the packaging and run TV ads to alert everyone. The next day, the TV ad only had a tiny warning, and the warning on the packaging was so small that Monroe needed a microscope to even see it. June decided it was time to take matters into their own hands. The team returned to Margie and Eloise's house to remove the Tarabok weed so the Rooney sticks could be produced safely. Behind a closet door, however, they discovered an entire factory mass-producing the snacks. While trying to stop the production, Margie and Eloise confronted them. In the confusion, Monroe fell into a large batter of Tarabok weed and turned into a giant monster. June almost hit him with the reduction wand, but metal and conveyor belts fell on her, leaving Ray Ray to retrieve it. The wand eventually landed inside a Rooney sticks in a vat of snacks. Ray Ray reassured June and started eating the snacks until he found the wand, then threw it to her just as Monroe was about to attack. After being changed back, Monroe didn't realize he had been a monster the entire time and wanted to continue taking down the factory, but June showed him that it looked like he had already done it. They returned home, with Ray Ray complaining that he could never eat again after scarfing down 200 Rooney sticks, but passing the street vendor, he decided to buy a yak snack anyway. Two office workers rode down in an elevator. One complained about having worked 12 years at the company, while the other calmly told him that being moved to the basement was actually a promotion. He added that the first worker hadn't really been working for the Maywell Company at all, and revealed the true headquarters of Humans Against Magic. The organization wanted better ways to infiltrate and control magic, and their leader explained that the best approach was to recruit the magical being closest to the dealings of magic, the Te Xuan Ze. Meanwhile, June was fighting a glimmer monster, but ignored Monroe's long advice, which allowed the monster to multiply into smaller glimmer monsters that escaped. Later, June asked Monroe if he had ever thought about stepping down as her advisor. Ray Ray jokingly asked if they could get another talking pet, which hurt Monroe's feelings. Angered, he ran out of June's room. At the same time, Humans Against Magic entered the Lee household with the help of a captured shape-shifting monster named Gorp. When they returned from the house, they discovered Monroe in his bag instead of June. Monroe explained that he had been the Te Xuan Ze advisor too long, felt underappreciated, and wanted to join Humans Against Magic voluntarily, believing magic needed control. The leader told him they would need a parasitic Zolera beast trained to drain magical creatures of energy. Monroe agreed and began work, requesting a long list of special terms and conditions to ensure the beast could be controlled safely. Monroe had already come up with a plan to escape the Ham facilities and take down the organization, but when he tried calling the Lee household with a makeshift phone, Ray Ray answered and dismissed him. June soon got hold of the phone, surprised but ready to help, while Ray Ray teased Monroe for getting caught in the first place. The kids decided to rescue him and disguised themselves as employees of Ham's cover company. Their plan fell apart when one employee announced free chocolate. Ray Ray couldn't resist asking for some, and despite June's warnings, she eventually got so frustrated that she blew their cover. From his boardroom, the Ham leader observed the situation and decided to set his final plans in motion when he noticed something suspicious about Monroe's room. He threatened Monroe, who smugly revealed that he had never been working for them and even showed the tracker on his collar. During the ensuing struggle, the Zolera beast was released, causing chaos in the underground laboratory and scattering Ham soldiers. June and Ray Ray watched Monroe unconscious through a hole in the ceiling. June fought the beast long enough to make the soldiers flee, but when the Ham leader tried to finish it off, the beast gained the upper hand and started absorbing June's magical energy again. Monroe woke up, stopped the beast, and revealed that he had trained it to obey only him. The organization was defeated, and Monroe restored all of June's magic. June admitted that Monroe had been a good teacher, and Ray Ray urged them to get back to work. June saluted Monroe and followed his advice, finishing the work quickly. June and her friends were eating in the cafeteria when Ophelia began complaining about how bad film festivals were. The school announcement speaker suddenly revealed that Ophelia was officially a filmmaker entering the first annual Orchid Bay Film Festival. She became flustered and asked all her friends to help her refilm the entry she had already submitted. Jody needed someone to cover her review of the new Boomfist movie to participate. Ray Ray volunteered eagerly, begging for the chance despite having already seen the film. When he arrived at the theater, he noticed that the film critics had been banished into the celluloid by the demoness. After being caught eating popcorn too loudly, he had to fend off her cronies, hid in the bathroom, and called June for help. Meanwhile, June was in the middle of filming with Ophelia and the others. She made an excuse to leave for the theater, though Ophelia pleaded with her not to go this time, reminding her of all the times she had missed helping them or joining in on activities. June promised she would return as soon as possible. When Ray Ray was being interrogated, June arrived, slamming open the door and immediately fighting off the demoness's lackeys to rescue him. June was suddenly transported into the celluloid world but fought back, causing the demoness to shift them to different movie sets. They first appeared in a Western setting where the demoness declared that the environment would make it easier to defeat Juniper. As June gained the upper hand and was about to land a punch, the demoness transported them again, this time into a jungle scene. She was confident of victory, but both were startled by a T-Rex ready to haul them off. Clapping her hands, the demoness whisked them to yet another scene, a Star Wars parody, enjoying the way her gear suited the evil setting. When June returned to reality, filming had already finished and Ophelia was sitting outside her house clearly disappointed. She told June that she had let things slide before, but this time it was the last, slamming the door in her face. The next day, Jody and Roger took Ophelia to the Orchid Bay Theater to cheer her up. Despite feeling downtrodden, she came along only to see her film being screened to an audience who clapped and cheered. Overwhelmed with gratitude, Ophelia realized the effort behind it and discovered that the entire surprise had been orchestrated by June. She hugged June tightly, emotional beyond words, while Roger and Jody, witnessing the moment, became emotional themselves. In June's room, she and Jody were busy preparing for an upcoming science fair project while Monroe quietly sat nearby, sipping tea and listening in. Jody showed June the plan they had with Lila, including a paper diorama illustrating how plants grew differently under various types of music. She reminded June how much work they still had to do to finish in time. June, excited, asked where they should start. Jody hesitated, questioning if June was really free this time, jokingly wondering if she had a secret life. June laughed it off, insisting they could just begin. Monroe whispered to June that Jody was onto them, and suggested wiping her memory to protect the secret of magic. June stopped him, saying she just wanted a peaceful day for their project. Just then, her bracelet began glowing and chiming aggressively. Both looked out the balcony, and Monroe muttered, "You were just begging for it." Outside, a hypnotized dragon flew past the balcony toward Skull Lake, breathing fire onto a glowing patch of ground that cracked and glowed brighter. June quickly excused herself, and Ray Ray bailed her out with a story about Ama's exploding toilet. She asked him to distract Jody with his historical earwax sculptures and mentioned that Lila was on her way to help. While Jody examined June's bookcase, she found Magic Made Easy by I Am Magic and squinted suspiciously. June arrived just in time, explaining the green stuff in her hair as hair gel. Monroe readied himself to erase Jody's memory, but Ray Ray stopped him, and June covered, blaming all the chaos on Dennis's junk. Dennis arrives and is immediately roped into June's new excuse by Ray Ray. Slow to catch on, he eventually joins in, confirming that the shelf items were indeed his and thanking June for letting him keep them there. Fumbling, he drops a round ceramic flask which shatters and releases a very loud ghost. Monroe grumbles, "There's 13,000 years of history crammed right down the toilet." The group laughs awkwardly, unaware that the fissure at Skull Lake continues to glow blue. A prison orb bursts from it, streaking like a blue fire comet into Ama's garden. Ama is attacked by Auntie Rune. Though she fights back, Rune's projectiles overwhelm her, and the orb nearly hits her. In panic, June bolts, leaving Jody flabbergasted while Dennis and Lila make a flimsy excuse and follow. Jody is left alone, slightly shocked, asking if she should let herself out. At Ama's, the garden is blasted by energy, and Ama struggles to dodge while her attacks fail. Rune appears on her flying fish, revealing she'd thrown together a quick invitation and blasting June through the ground. Monroe arrives with the others, astonished at Rune's return. Juniper gains the upper hand, demanding to know if Rune thought she'd get away with attacking her grandma. Calmly, Rune admits she'd hoped Juniper would show up, twists her arm, and shoots a blue disc from her staff. An explosion erupts around June, leaving a crater, and she stands transformed into a large monster. Meanwhile, in the basement, Ray proposes forming their own evil-stopping team. Auntie Rune and her fish are banished to a cave alongside the biker demon Batut poachers from Not in My Backyard. So that will be it from us. If you enjoyed the video, let us know which character was your favorite. Also, do not forget to leave us a like and subscribe to our channel for similar content. Thanks for watching. We'll see you at the next one.